one of the commenters on my channel said to me that once you join the alt-right, they're always in it. That once you join them, they never fall out.
I was a young idealistic kid.
But what you're watching right now from a new YouTube creator called Faraday Speaks,
I was just very interested.
I can't help but wonder how many people, just how many,
I believed in giving social justice to everyone. I believed in
have actually done the same thing.
And I had a lot of empathy for people, and I wanted to help people in the world. When I was, my senior year in high school, I wanted to go. I got accepted, but ended up not going to this program in India. It was like a sustainable agriculture type thing.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I guess where everything is always dark on this channel. It's always dark and dismal and dreary, and I never seem to have any good news to report. I wonder if that might have something to do with it ultimately being a gothic channel. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe we live in clown world. So I ran across a YouTube video that was saying that anti-SJWs, even anti-SJWs that fall on the left, don't talk about their liberal principles enough. Fair enough, that's a decent argument, actually. That actually might have some legitimacy to it. Well, so I started thinking about that, like, I think the anti-SJW leftists and right-wing people, rational right-wing people, need to start attacking the extreme right as well. As much as we try to draw a thick, bulbous line between the authoritarian left and the liberals, we need to do the same thing for the right. So I started looking at some of the right-wing talking heads on YouTube, and I thought I'd start light. So you saw this Faraday Speaks and his descent down the alt-right, rabbit hole. And then he came out on top as a comrade. So, like, when I was doing this and looking for things to talk about and look into ideologies and kind of explore the philosophy behind these ideologies and if they're good ideas or bad ideas, my take, the left's take, the right's take. I'm not a political channel, by the way. I'm really not. But as I do this, I come across all these wonderful leftists that want to call themselves comrades. And they want to appeal to ideals that came out of communism and socialism. And I'm like, that's not what liberal means. I'll get to that later. But the alt-right, or not the alt-right, sorry, there's different tiers of the right, okay? Let's start off with that. And, hold on. So the different tiers of the right, you have an extreme right that is the religious right. You have rational right-leaning people. These are usually people that talk about Second Amendment advocacy, gun right advocacy. They talk about free market capitalism, ANCAP type stuff, libertarian type ideals, pro-life, anti-abortion type philosophy. And not everyone on the right is like that, but I mean, like, they have like a stricter level of what they would consider abortable. And that's actually where I'm going to tie into the right-leaning person I'm going to talk about. And I think some of these right-leaning people absolutely have people spiral down the rabbit hole to where they end up on the alt-right, listening to people like Richard Spencer and Mike Enoch. By the way, why is it, like, I was watching a BBC special about the KKK in the United States. You know, for wanting to be the superior race, why is it so many of them that have joined that group are egg-shaped or have two chins? I'm not body shaming here or anything. Or am I? It doesn't matter. The point is that, like, in a lineup between, like, Usher, Childish Gambino, and then a plethora of people I saw on that documentary that are part of the KKK, if I were to pick who has the more dominant or better genetics, the choice would be pretty clear that it would be the Childish Gambino or Usher, and not these potato-shaped people. Or egg-shaped people, for that matter, because a lot of the women were very egg-shaped. I mean, I swear, if they tripped on a rock and tumbled down a hill, they would literally roll. And there were so many men with two chins, it was incredible. And everyone talked like this, like they'd never seen a dictionary. Puke, garbage. Enough of that, I'm sorry. I'm being a shitlord. My apologies, but not really. So, I do want to talk about the right-leaning people that I do think lead people down a more extreme right-leaning path than they think they're on. Like, I'm not saying these people are neo-Nazis. I'm not saying that they're alt-right. I'm saying that their right-leaning perspectives are more ideologically extreme than you might think. For instance, the most recent thing that happened, or a more recent thing that happened, was the Alabama bill. They overturned Roe v. Wade, and they pretty much banned abortion outright. Even if you get raped, you cannot abort a baby. If you get fucking raped, you can't abort that shit. That's crazy. The list of what they will consider that they will abort is very, very small. Jaclyn Glenn did a video on this. I will have the Faraday and Jaclyn Glenn and BBC. I will have links in the description below. But this bill is so, like, restrictive on abortion laws that even Pat Robertson, who is part of the West Baptist Church, was against it. This is an extreme evangelical Christian. Let's have a look at what he has to say.
I think Alabama has gone too far. They've passed a law that would give a 99-year prison sentence to people who commit abortion. There's no exception for rape or incest. They want to challenge Roe versus Wade, but my humble view is that this is not the case we want to bring to the Supreme Court, because I think this one will lose.
All right, so you got to see what Pat Robertson has to say about it. Now, the thing in the Alabama anti-abortion bill that keeps popping up and sounds oh so familiar to me, because I've heard it 50,000 times before by a very prominent right-leaning talking head. They're talking about the heartbeat, which happens, I believe, within 1 or 2 weeks of an insemination, of a pregnancy. 1 or 2 weeks, that's it. Heartbeat. Where have we heard that before? Mr. Ben fucking Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is not alt-right. He couldn't possibly be a neo-Nazi. He's fucking Jewish. I also have another thing to say about the alt-right. So, C.R. Williams pointed this out to me, and I think C.R. Williams did a good job of pointing this out. It is kind of hilarious. So they believe that the white race is the or superior race. It's the supreme race. However, the Jewish people are taking over the world, and we need to do something about it. Okay, so this is what C.R. Williams brought up. So you think that the white race is superior, yet another race is taking over the world, but you're the superior race. You really sure about that? Seems like they're outsmarting the white race. And by the way, if you think that the Jews, that the globalist Jew network is taking over the world, you might be dabbling in some conspiracy shit. I'm just saying, you might have stepped in that. It's okay. People fall for that stuff sometimes. I fell for anonymous dog shit once. It's okay. It happens. Just shrug it off, brush it off, and say, you know what? They had me, they got me. But no, there is no fucking Jewish globalist agenda trying to take over the world. Right now, the biggest issue, at least from my perspective, are these weird authoritarian moral busybody leftists that seem to think that should be the how we govern politics anymore. I don't understand all that, but rational leftists seem to be becoming hard to come by these days. Actually, there's more rational leftists, though, than these weird SJW types. It's weird. It's complicated. On to Ben Shapiro, though. He started, and I mean, if you want to take the time to go through many Ben Shapiro debates on abortion, this is something he brings up over and over and over and over and over again, is the heart rate. One thing that Ben Shapiro had, I have never seen Ben Shapiro actually speak to somebody who says, well, I presume that life has to do not with heartbeat, but has more to do with cognizance, the understanding that one is alive. Okay? But a lot that doesn't come until third trimester, so that's pushing it a little. That's my personal philosophy. Like, me personally, I consider life to be sentient if you are cognitively aware. Like my cat. She's alive. Now, how Richard Dawkins puts it is a way that I really like. And it's great minds like Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and Michael Shermer and Helen Fisher, Jane Goodall. It's people like this, these deep intellectual thinkers, that we need today more now than ever. Instead, though, we get Ben Shapiro, who talks about the heartbeat. But what Richard Dawkins says is that when he draws a line of efficacy, is he looks at whether or not it has a central nervous system. Can it interpret and understand pain? If it has a central nervous system, then it can. And that's why we do not abort after the first trimester, because it's in the second trimester where the central nervous system develops that is capable of understanding and interpreting pain. Even though it may not be cognizantly aware, the brain is still receiving and interpreting signals of understanding of pain. And I think that that's a great model to go off of. So the first trimester we can abort after the central nervous system is developed no more. I can be down with that. I think that's fair. And I think that many people, rational conservatives, rational right-leaning people, feel that that's fair as well. A lot of rational, right-leaning people that I know of, the biggest concern that they have with abortion is, why is it tax dollars paying for Planned Parenthood, but then when you go in to get an abortion, the woman still has to pay for the abortion, so you're paying the state twice. And that's a legitimate argument as well. Either stop paying taxes into it or stop charging the women. I think the right would prefer stop paying taxes into it and have it income-based, based on the clientele that they get and the people that have to pay for the abortions. Because any woman I've known that has gone into Planned Parenthood, they have had to pay their own money to get the abortion done. So I don't know what this tax dollar thing is. I don't understand why they're taking tax dollars if the women that go in there to get an abortion have to pay for it. That doesn't make sense to me. I think there's some misinformation going on there. But I would like to remind you, though, Ben Shapiro is not a biologist like Richard Dawkins. Ben Shapiro is a lawyer. So I'm sure he has a plethora of knowledge when it comes to law. But I think when he's talking about biology, when he debates like transgender issues and stuff like that, I think, and family values, I think that's pure statistical data. And so he only seems to lean to one side of that statistical data, is that he looks at dysfunctional families and how many people, like what percentage of them come out and be shitty. But what he fails to look at and never ever touches, which I have done multiple times and I'm not going to do it again, I have already done this, but there is a plethora of successful, like hundreds, thousands maybe, of successful top 1% people that came from broken homes. You have the Columbine shooters. They came from white middle-class suburbia, from a 2-parent home, a religious home. He doesn't pay attention to that, nor will he mention it. I'm not making an argument to Ben Shapiro. I'm just saying maybe we should think about what he's saying and not take it as the word of truth, but take it as his particular position on politics. See, this is what I'm saying. I'm not political. I'm talking about somebody who's using politics to sway an audience and saying, hey, everybody, you might want to pay attention, because not everything he's saying is 100% accurate. And I do find it interesting that Ben Shapiro does this. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. I think that was drivel. I think that was just nonsense. Hold on. Maybe I need some more caffeine. So this whole heart thing, that's been uttered by Ben Shapiro over and over and over again. And I want people to understand, this is not a conservative, right-leaning perspective. Well, it is, but I want to explain more in depth of where he gets this idea. Many of you know he's Jewish. Many of you know he is very strictly religious. This is not a mystery. It's all over the place in many of the debates that he's had. He is extremely religious and takes his religion very seriously. Well, I think that just points out where the argument comes from, doesn't it? If you read through the tenets of the Bible, even masturbation in certain aspects of the Old Testament are considered to be a form of abortion. I'm not even joking. This is very, very puritanical, very evangelical stuff. And this is the position that Ben Shapiro is coming from, is from an extreme religious ideology. It is not coming from some kind of logical formulation. He's using statistics that he can find to back up his religious ideology. Do we understand this? Not everyone on the right is as strict as Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is rather extreme. He is a zealot, if you will. So I once called Louder with Crowder, Stephen Crowder. I once called him a zealot, and I was wrong on that. He is not a zealot. He's actually pretty open-minded and pretty rational right-wing, even though he does spin some of the information that he has, like the third trimester abortion. That has more to do with how many doctors have to approve it than anything. They changed it from 3 doctors approving it to 1, and it has to do with brain-dead fetuses or fetuses born without bones, or like Harley Quinn baby, something like that. Something that only has like 48 hours to a week to live of agonizing pain before it just dies. That's what third trimester abortions are for. It's not just, it comes out of the womb, I don't want it, take it into the other room and kill it. No, that's not how it goes down. That's not how it's played out, Stephen Crowder. I don't know where you got that stuff from. Nowhere can I find any evidence that you can do that. Nowhere. And I read through the bill that was enacted about the third trimester abortion. Nowhere in there does it say anything about, like, it pops out of the womb, the woman doesn't want it, you can just have it killed, or like, oh no, it's got Down syndrome, go kill it. No. That's not what that bill says. So that was a spin on Stephen Crowder. However, I would not consider him to be as extreme or as much of a zealot as Ben Shapiro. And that's what I'm saying, is that there's many, many, many of these right-leaning talking heads on YouTube and across social media that people are flocking to and paying attention to, and people think that they make sense and they're rational and they're logical and they make these profound arguments. I'll give you that, they make a profound argument, but I don't know if I would call them rational. Well, they're rational. They've rationalized, but I don't know that they're logical. So I wanted people to take this into concept that Ben Shapiro is sort of a doorway down the rabbit hole of the alt-right. Because the more and more you get into these right-leaning people that aren't alt-right or neo-Nazis, the further right you become. And now we have a bill passed where it's made it illegal for a woman to get an abortion almost for any reason. I think there's only 3 reasons on the table that you can now get an abortion in the states of Missouri and Alabama here in the United States. And it's basically like, well, Jaclyn Glenn did a video, and I left that in the description below, so I recommend that you go and watch that. I don't know why I'm promoting a channel that towers over mine, but I am. She does a good job, and I like her content, so why not? Fuck it, I do different content here, and I do things my way. Now, before I end this video, I stumbled across so many weird leftists calling each other comrade. And you know what pisses me off about that Faraday, however you say his fucking name, is that I'm going to say this, he's a little too social justice-y for me. He's kind of like milquetoast. He's kind of a baby. Like, he's just like, well, there's people online that are bullying people, and we need to stop that. Yeah, no, that's too fucking weird for me. And Mr. Adolf Hitler commented on me saying that he should be on a watch list and being pro-free speech. Look, I'm all for being pro-free speech. I'm not trying to get people banned from bullying. I think if somebody's going to be a bully, I think that there's a thing called a block button if you can't really honestly tolerate it. But you know, like, I'll bully you back. I mean, like, if you're gonna troll me, I'll troll you back. To me, it's all in good fun. I kind of to me, it's fun. I like trolling back. But the reason I say you belong on a watch list, because when somebody unironically talks about killing people, unironically, I'm not saying that you should be arrested or go to jail or be banned from any social media. I'm just saying that maybe somebody should look into your account to make sure you're not actually going to go out and kill someone. That's all I'm saying. I mean, for all we know, you could be completely radicalized in your basement building a bomb. You know, you're pretty fucking radical. So no, I'm not advocating censoring you. I'm just saying maybe somebody should take a look and make sure you're not doing anything illegal. You know, something that's illegal to the federal government. That's what I'm saying. Okay? Unironically saying killing people. Just saying. Like, I say that I'll kill people ironically. You're not saying it ironically. So, back to the Ben Shapiro thing. So, Ben Shapiro, like, and this is absolutely something that is interesting, and I hate to side, sometimes I do side with the sort of alt-left, because crony capitalism is a problem, and so far, I'm going to show this clip from the BBC now.
Republican Party. I mean, haven't the Conservatives run out of ideas in America? All the new policies, the Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, the Green New Deal, they're all coming from the left, and they're popular.
Well, frankly, I'm confused by the idea that any of those are particularly new ideas. I mean, most of...
And I'm sure you're all aware of that. That link will be in the description below, but in case you're not aware of it. But that guy from the BBC, apparently he is a conservative, staunch conservative at that. And he's absolutely right. Here in the United States, most of the ideas are being brought up by, well, the, the kind of socialist left. And they're providing answers to crony capitalism, and so far the right has only come up with one: free market capitalism. But I don't know that free market capitalism will work, because the thing is if free market capitalism was going to work, people wouldn't be using Amazon or Walmart or fast food. Amazon, Walmart, and fast food work because they're fast, easy, and convenient, and a lot of times cheaper. So that's where we run into a problem with the free market capitalism idea. I'm not against the free market capitalism idea. I think it's a legitimate argument to be made. However, I'm not seeing my argument being pressed as a liberal. Well, I mean, like, it's not very liberal on government issues. But I think we should hold these corporations accountable. I think somebody needs to be held accountable. Somebody needs to go to jail. Somebody needs to be fined. And I think that some power should be outstretched into the labor departments. I think that they should have the ability to find and arrest corrupt business operators. I know that seems very authoritarian, but I don't perceive business. I think if you're going to see, here's the thing, is that if you're becoming an enemy of the people, you're infringing on rights, liberties, and freedoms of the people. And the government's job is to defend the people, the populace, from foreign and domestic threats, which the corporate entities, the corporate empires, and crony capitalism has become that. So I hate to say it, but the left is really the one that's coming up with most of the ideas, and the right is just kind of sitting there going, no. And then you have these right-leaning extremists that want to take us back to, as he put it, take us back to the Dark Ages. That guy from BBC said that to Ben Shapiro, and he went off on a huge fucking tangent like a little baby. So, I wanted to bring that attention. I wanted to bring attention to that, to Ben Shapiro, specifically, that if you watch enough of his stuff, you might start listening to somebody like Stephen Molyneux. Or you might start listening to somebody like Coach Red Pill. And then you might start listening to somebody like Baked Alaska. And then Richard Spencer. And then Mike Enoch. And then Kyle Morris. So it just perpetuates on and on until you've fallen all the way down. And that Faraday paints that picture pretty well. And it's something that I saw even before I saw that video and him talking about it. It's a trend that I saw. So, after this, I think I will explore some of the other right-leaning talking points that I think are more extreme than the rational right-leaning talking points. I wanted Lothier Mordred to give me a comment because I perceive him as being more of a moderate or rational right-leaning conservative person rather than a far extremist like Ben Shapiro, Stephen Molyneux, Coach Red Pill, and such like that. I would even consider Candace Owen to be pretty rational. But when I was exploring that, I saw a bunch of leftist junk that I wanted to kind of debunk because it's just fucking poison. There's poisons on both sides. And I think unless you are one of the poisons. If you are a far leftist or a far right person, you probably don't think you're poison. But you are. And I also like to bring up to the alt-right, they keep talking about their numbers, our numbers are huge. Well, looking at your content versus like somebody like ContraPoints, which ContraPoints honestly is kind of too social justice-y for my taste. I like some of the content that she makes, not all of it. There's things that I agree with, and there's things that I disagree with. But she has far more subscribers and views than any of your channels. Like, it is unbelievable. She towers over you. She's like an empire of her own. And actually, that kind of pisses me off because this Faraday person makes one stinking video about how he fell down the alt-right rabbit hole and talks about how ContraPoints came in and saved the day. Never mind that Sargon has spoken out against the alt-right. Never mind that Crouten T has spoken out against the alt-right and all this other stuff. Never mind all that. But he's got ContraPoints to back him, and now his channel's just skyrocketed, even though he's limited on his capacity for content creating, because he does not, well, he doesn't have like the editing power, the lighting, I don't know, there's just all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, well, because he shout out to ContraPoints and ContraPoints has his back, his channel just shot up like a rocket overnight. And that kind of pisses me off. But I don't have a platform like that, so I guess it's just all me. But don't worry, alt-right. I saw plenty of alt-left commentator comments and shit that I want to go over, because I still think that the alt-left hijacking the term liberal needs to stop. And I'm still on that crusade, which I know you guys like that kind of content. So there will still be plenty more for you as well. So, I'd also like to point out the shirt, the Virgin Prune shirt. Lothier Mordred got this for me as a gift. So, thank you, Lothier. I wanted commentary from him about how there are right-leaning talking heads on YouTube that can spiral a person down the rabbit hole of the alt-right, which he had some thoughts on that, but he keeps talking about politics rather than the idea itself, and I do not have the video to show you. So, Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. With that, I'm out.